All right, I think we're back on. Dan, I'll promote you back to panelist on there.
That's your team.
I don't see Amy on yet.
Amy's phone is about to die. Zoom sucks that battery pretty well on her phone, so she won't be back on. But Dan and I are good to continue.
Okay.
Okay, we're back live for everything. Is there any additional discussion from anyone? Okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I was hoping that we could perhaps hear any revised language that the city was contemplating post executive session.
Can I make a motion, Mayor? Yes, Janelle would like to, I think, answer that with a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we send this mediation with the ombudsman.
I'll second it. Okay, we have a motion on the table to send it back to the mediation with the ombudsman. We got a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. So we will get that set up. Michael, is that, will you do that? Okay. So Michael will get that set up and we'll get that taken care of at this point in time. Just to clarify. Appreciate everyone coming to the table. Discussion is good. Hopefully we can come to a good decision on what's going on with this. Okay, we have one last thing to cover. Yes, there's one last portion to the meeting, and that's the public comment. I would take public comments from anyone that has to do with anything under our purview that hasn't been discussed already on the agenda.
And Scarlett, did you check that, or Ty, have you checked any comments that came
To see
in?
if we have anything.
I have checked and we don't have any. I looked in the spam box too, and I can't find any new comments for tonight's meeting.
Okay. I'll close that portion of the meeting then, since there are no comments. The next item is staff reports. Scarlett, you want to start?
Oh,
Sorry.
I didn't hear that. Sorry. As far as our staff report goes this month, I sat in on that same meeting this morning with Kathleen, with the mayor, excuse me. That's going to be an interesting 60 days working with a fairly large group of people to talk about the housing situation in Cache County, and I don't know exactly what the total outcome will be, but it will be an interesting thing to participate in. And my hope for it is that after this is done, that perhaps we can get some unity with the other cities so that there's not quite so much disparity going on. As far as our land use activity and the stormwater side of things, of course, with the spring weather, our new stormwater person, Mitch, he's doing a great job. He's getting out there. We're following up on code complaints, nuisance complaints. Monday seemed to be a day for that. So we're working on those things. Our recreation program, we're still in registration phase on most of it, but our competitive baseball league has finally got a few days of good enough weather to get some games in. And so they're moving forward. So that's really about all I have to report on. unless you've got some specific questions for me.
How long is baseball registration still open?
How long is, Scarlett, how much longer is baseball registration open?
The end of this week.
Okay, thanks. Is that the end of your report?
Yes, that's everything unless you've got questions.
Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you for all your work. Ty?
You all should have received the written decision from the Cass County Commission Board regarding the vineyard. There were no recommendations or stipulations. It passed unanimously. So we can move forward on that. Hope to have the public hearing in May, June, depending on when you guys want to have it. Our codification is moving along quite nicely. We're in our final stages. We're currently, our team is reviewing it, going through, making any more changes, recommendations. We'll get it back to Municode Civics Plus. They'll come up with the final draft and then we'll bring it to council. If council has any issues or recommendations with the public, it's back in our hand to make those changes. It will be rolled out live. So we'll be doing that. I believe.
So everybody got a copy of that,
So Janelle and Jeff, who are on the committee,
right?
Ryan and Scarlett and I, and Angie's gone through it as well. So you'll get the final product with our ordinance.
A little light reading.
Yeah.
Take a couple minutes.
And then again, any comments that you guys have, any changes that you all want to see will be on us, the city, to make those changes in the live rollout. But I think it's gonna look a lot nicer than it is. It's gonna cut a lot of stuff out. At Justice Court, we're going back to live court on May 16th, and hopefully we'll stay live. We're in person. So that's all I have.
Rob?
Yes, things are kicking off to be very, very busy summer. And it might try to break records again, even though I seem to say that the last few years in a row now.
Let's keep track so we can tell everybody how many records we broke. We'll
Well,
put it in the newsletter.
it's going to be a busy one, that's for sure. And just city projects, developments across the board, trying to attempt to keep up with all our operations and maintenance, regular annual to-dos. It's going to be a busy year for sure. It's getting that way, but our reservoirs hit a milestone today, actually. So that's worth noting because we're filling the tank as we speak. It'll take 50 hours to fill it. At the flow rate that we're filling, it'll take about 2 days to fill it. And there's lots to do after it's full, but that starts a testing procedure and it gets a very important milestone crossed. So yeah, it's great news. The cemetery expansion has begun. They kicked off on that one as well. So we'll keep that project moving along and update you each month. The Twin D is our sewer cleaning contractor. They're going to start next week. So you'll see those trucks rolling through town. We're going to do approximately a third of the town again, as far as cleaning and inspecting the sewer system, the collection system. So that's a very, very good thing to see rolling into town at this particular time of year, since April is when the groundwaters are typically the highest and the ditch companies start adding water to their ditches. And so maybe we can find some I&I inflow and infiltration into the system and repair those. Our water master plan is still underway. I've spent quite a bit of time lately going through the new water model that we have, which is very sophisticated and has taken a lot of time to calibrate. So that's great to see that up and running. The fiber optic crews, they've been working on drops all over the place. They're about to mobilize a whole bunch of mainline crews. So you'll see a whole bunch more fiber crews roll into town real soon. Start trenching main lines up and down, mostly the south bench as far as main lines, and the drop crews will continue to work on the downtown and catch up to the mainline crews on the south bench. There's a lot of topics there, so we can discuss any of them in more detail if you'd like.
I just want to report in our newsletter all the records that are broken.
All right, I'll see what we
Let
can
the
do.
city
about that.
know how hard we're working for them. I think that's a good thing. Okay.
I have just a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
What is the situation with 300 South? I noticed on 200 South, there's lots of circles and markings on moist spots. I was just curious what the deal was with that. And I saw the power line starting to get moved on 100 South. So how much work are we aiming to get done in the budget year? Do we know?
A lot. That might be on mine. I think those questions might be on mine, but Rob, if you want to address any of those before I report on those, you're welcome to, or I
I'll
can
let
take
you. I
on
mean, I
all of
certainly
those
could if
three.
you'd like me to, but that's
Do we have crack seal also for the fiber trenches? I saw some have been filled and some have not. Is that based on weather conditions or like
That's
temperature?
on their project to fill. They should all be masticed. Eventually, they'll all have mastic on the cracks for the strata that the fiber created. They should finish all those, but some of that's due to weather.
That's all. That's
Thank
all
you,
my
Rob.
questions.
You bet.
Pretty awesome. Thank you for all you do.
Hey, Ryan.
All right, 300 South, we have in design, we're working with the landowner and are working through an agreement to try to get the area mitigated and the effect that the road's causing to mitigate that effect. And so we're working on that. I have a meeting with them just after I get back, the week I get back. So we're working towards completing that. The 100 South, we are working on that one. We expect that they will start probably June 1st. So a majority, if not all of that project will flow into next budget year. To answer that one. Second South, we have a meeting with LeGrand Johnson and their project team to go over that. The week I get back, the first week of May, we have a meeting with them to go over finishing a few of those, and that will be Second South. The soft spots or the areas that you've seen, the circle ones. What they did is there was some separation. There was some moisture underneath that came up with that, with laying the asphalt. It separated some, and they tried to put a sealant over top. And so we've been watching to see if that sealant, so it looks like wet spots, but they're actually sealant spots over top of those areas.
That road is always wet. That road has wet on it.
It looks wet. Some of these will look wet.
Before it was fixed.
Oh. Okay.
Before it was fixed, that road was always wet.
Okay, well, at this point, we have not paid for the asphalt on that north lane. So we'll come down to either accepting that we won't pay them anything for it and keep it until we need to replace it, or we will have them take it out, put in new asphalt, and then pay them for that asphalt. But at this point, we're not expecting to pay them for the current asphalt, if that makes sense. We haven't paid them for what they've put down because we believe that it would be rejected. But they can say, well, at this point, asphalt prices has gone up, would rather just leave it and not get paid for it than come back and fix it, take it out and put a new one back in. So that is a secondary option. We'd like him to take it out and repave. But at this point, they could.
So they would have that option and we don't.
No, not a full no say. We have another project that LeGrand Johnson is doing for us on the next project. So, and they want to be able to work with us. Obviously, that's why they did the other project, and we have part on 100 North that we had them include in that last year's project. So we are working with them. I'm sure they'll be good. Anyway, I just wanted you to know that there's some kind of pieces to that puzzle that we're working on. But I expect to get that project done by the end of the budget year. Hopefully 300 South by the end of the budget year. 100 North, almost all in next budget year. About half of the cemetery in this budget year and half in next budget year. So anyway, that is another piece of my report. So I'll go to the other piece of my report. Fiber, we sent you out a summary, and I've continued to have Strata work to have that as a monthly summary so they can get you information. It is supposed to come the first. They were a little late this time. I've talked to them about that, and I think that's corrected. So it should come around the first Wednesday of the month. We do have a number of conduit that is installed, fiber that is installed, being tested. We're expecting within the next week or two to go from 300 possible connections to maybe 600. So we'll double in size of numbers that can connect after they've completed all of their testing. So they're splicing, but it is the testing, and the testing is taking a significant amount of time. But we want it tested, and we want it right, so that when that comes through, that's an important piece to us. So we have been working through the ISPs. Most of the ISPs that will be on are in either online or in the final stage. So we are working through some other difficulties and trying to help them to identify those difficulties as early as possible. So anyway, the garbage, there has been some development, a little on that to make sure you're aware of. With the sanitation with Logan, there was a bill passed on the last day of the legislature that did transfer as of July or June of 2023. So that gives us a little over a year until that trigger occurs, and that trigger would take all revenue collected from the Logan landfill and transfer it through the tire recycle funds back to the county. So it would take all of Logan's revenue from there and give it to the county. What that has done is Logan has then somewhat retaliated and said, well, we gave you 2.5 years, but then if that's the case, then we'll give you until that trigger kicks in. It may or may not be unfortunate, but the legislator that we have put that in, I think is a consequence and a penalty to Logan. But Logan has retaliated at that point. At this point, whether they'll stick to that or not, I'm not sure, but it does move up the time frame, or at least that's the threat.
Moves it up, what?
To June of 2023.
Well, we'll have to have some alternate
Right.
garbage collection.
So can I just clarify, that was passed by the county council or? by the
No,
state
that was
legislature?
passed by the state legislature. So it is a state law, which the issue with that is now that pulled the state legislature into the fight between the county and Logan City, rather than it being a county council item, or that it did pull in the state. And rightfully, our legislator has quite a bit of power at the legislature, and had that poll. I was on the rules committee. But the idea is, if things can settle with Logan, then they could take that back out of the laws. But once a law is in, it still takes another vote of the whole legislature to get it out. So there is some issue that did cause, and it's not, it shouldn't be taken lightly. But it does accelerate. At this point, I have met with most city managers in the valley, just discussing some of the issue so that we could gain to be on the same page. Smithfield's didn't come and Hiram's didn't come, but we had a small visit between myself and the others that are most of the others, not all. And we understand that city managers are working to help to draft into the RFP. We still have some questions and some issues that need to be there. But we have at this point, Hiram and Smithfield, they were supposed to meet Monday to combine their efforts and then get it out to the rest so that we can continue to work on that. So we are working in that range. But wanted to let you know that is something that it will come sooner than later at this point. And just want to keep you in the loop as what I'm aware of, and share that out to the group. And then one of the things that I have been working on is getting the tentative budget drafted, get everything in it. I have most of that drafted. It will roll out next council meeting to go through. But if there are some things that you want to talk about, look at, if you're unfamiliar with some of how budget works and want to get caught up or ask more budgeting questions, happy to take and happy to have you either one at a time or two at a time to kind of go through some, if you want just some accounting education or whatever that may be. Obviously the tentative budget will come, the official tentative budget will be presented in the May council meeting. But if you have desires for education or knowledge of how things work behind the scenes, open up the curtain, I'm happy to provide any of that to help. So anyway, if that's helpful, sometimes it seems daunting, and to present all of that in the council I try to present at a high level, but if you want any more to that so that you can understand how the pieces work, I'm more than happy to take a training class with you to help you do that. So anyway, let me know. There has been submitted to the council with budget the prioritization of projects. And just as I'm building and constructing some of the budget, I would say that projects at this point of the master plans are rolled out as priority lists. Sometimes, as you heard from Rob, that the list may be, we might have a record. We might need to pick off something of a lower hanging fruit that we can get accomplished rather than the next priority, because if the two top things in the priority list are labor intensive, we may find that there are a few things that are a little lower on the priority list that we would maybe pull into that. It's some of the not exact science, but I just want to let you know that there is sometimes that we may do that. So being able to pull something forward. Generally speaking, with items like that is out of order, there may be different funding options. So impact fees can be spent for new construction, but not for replacements. The wraps can be used for certain things. There's availability of different grants. So there may be different things that help into that. But I just kind of wanted to, because it's been on my mind, and I know you've gotten a letter on that one, to give you an idea that as a general rule, we follow the priority of the plan unless the staff and working with trying to balance that staff myself to try to have enough projects that we can accomplish in a year rather than budget for everything to get accomplished and then we don't get it accomplished and we move it to the next year. So anyway, and we have some of those that we can just do so much. But those are kind of the report I have. Happy to take any questions, answer anything you have, anything that's come up. Happy to help, however. So,
I have a question.
all right.
I'm wondering about the pickleball courts that, we have the funding for. And, people sometimes wonder why we're prioritizing pickleball courts, but it's because we have the money for it, but we have a limited amount of time to use it. We didn't get a bid that was reasonable to do it.
Right.
So we talked about, you had talked about maybe hiring a individual and making them city staff or something to work on concrete. What's the latest scoop with those courts?
Pickleball courts are not as easy to build and construct as we had hoped. So what we have at this point is we have a expansion that was one of the items to our city shop. And we have a few other projects like boring under the highway and pickleball courts. And we have a few of those projects that have become more. So at this point, we are attempting and trying to look at alternative options. Some of those alternative options are, well, to utilize any one of those projects. So really, we're looking for a contractor or a way in which to get it done. So there is another method. And Rob, I want to say it's Gordian, but is that wrong?
So Gordian is the right term for that procurement policy?
Yes.
A different form? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Gordian is a method in which what they'll do is they'll come in with the contractor and basically work to design, build it up. It's a different method for procurement, but it is a method that is allowed by the state procurement. So we could utilize that through state contracting. But we are looking down a road to see, because it's really a problem of contractor, not funds. And that is where we're at with a few of those projects.
You
So,
used some vocabulary that was a little over my head.
I'm sorry. Back me up.
Procurement.
Purchasing, this is the way we purchase.
Okay.
Procurement is just a method in which, it's just
Okay. It's not
purchasing.
like a type of concrete or
No.
something.
No, it's just government, it's government lingo for how we purchase something.
Okay.
So, no, I
How
apologize.
you obtain something.
Okay.
Procurement.
Okay. Down different routes.
We are trying different routes.
Okay.
And pickleball was something we had, we applied for before, we've added, but the price came in to the point that it was, yes. So we're looking for all different alternatives in that realm. We haven't forgotten, we haven't left it, but it
And this is
is.
for what part? Where's it going?
So it would have been 5
5
parks is
different
what the goal was. So, but at this point, that's kind of where we're at, is trying to get a contractor. We're working to be creative on different available options.
And was it unavailability of a contractor to bore under the road too that caused the delay in that?
Yeah, we've tried to call quite a few different ones and try to get a price, and it doesn't come back.
Oh, so no bid.
Yeah.
Probably too small a job.
Yeah, we believe it's probably too small a job to really.
Northern Utah.
Yeah, so at that point, it's what we can do creative. We might be able to do this Gordian option, or we might partner with the developer when they come, similar to what we've done with pipe on 300 South. But yes, that's where we stand. We haven't got a price. So,
Okay, thank you.
anyway. Answer your questions. Okay,
Janelle has a question.
you got more. That's fine. I'm excited for him.
No, I just, pickleball's on mine, so pass it off. Good job. Specific to the garbage, is that just like trash collection, or is it green waste and recycling also, all of it?
All of it.
So how does that affect our green waste thing? We just barely adopted the county. That's a whole different problem.
It's a whole different problem.
Okay.
So is 911, which is done, E911, which is done through that method. So they didn't have to do a tax. They added it on as an additive. They added it as a fee to the garbage.
I wondered about, just for the sake of efficiency, I know when you give us the tentative budget, it has a project list on there. Did you want to send out a tentative project list ahead of the tentative budget so that if there's something that we really want to adjust, that we could state that, or?
Sure.
Because I know
When would
you-
you like that?
I
I will at least send it out with
I just
the,
know you've asked for that in the past. I just want to be efficient.
yeah, I will at least send it out, the packet with the agenda packet. But I can send it out in another extra week above that so that you have time to look at it and review it. I'm 95% done with the packet at this point. So I just have a few little extras to add to tweak. So I'm almost there. So I can send it out within the next 2 weeks, which will give you 2 good weeks before the next council meeting. So
Do you want
if that helps.
feedback on the budget before you bring it to the council meeting? Like, do you want us to send any feedback before, or do you want feedback to wait till council meeting?
So generally speaking, the tentative budget comes out and comes with a presentation. My offer is kind of helping to educate so that because we don't have the 20-year history of being on the council. Someday I hope you all have 20-year history on the council. I'm just trying to help. I'm hoping. So all of
No,
you.
after that, you graduate to the Historic Preservation Committee. That's like the thing after 20 years. That's where you go. So
Perfect deal. I accept. So at that point, my offer is kind of educational. Normally, you get a presentation and I present, go over the budget, and then the feedback comes out between tentative and final. And there's generally a 30-day period in which it's posted and any feedback can be given. And then we come back. Hopefully that feedback has come over that 30 days and can modify or see with, does that make sense to tweak here, tweak there? And then it comes back to adoption. So, but the tentative kind of the normal opening of the package, if you would. I'm willing to show you so there's no surprise and help you give it early so that you can, but I don't want to ruin the surprise. But anyway, I don't know whether that's described well, but generally the feedback's given in between because there's context that comes with opening the package that may be helpful. And if you just read the black and white, you might be left with more questions
So we'll have a
than
month
answers.
to look at.
And then you have a month
Okay.
before it comes back in June for adoption, and then we adopt in June. So
So maybe the training could take place in between. When you see it, and so same.
No, May.
I'm willing to offer training before the tentative, so that at least at that point, when you see the budget and you have it in your hands for that comment period, you can interpret, you can be up to speed, up to pace if you want. I'm willing to offer it anytime you want. I want to help you to have comfortability with that budget at any point. So anyway, okay. Now, Josh, Brent, Jeff, any questions for me?
I think I did write one down as you were talking. Oh, yeah, just I know you've been attending or watching the Cache County Solid Waste Advisory Board, obviously. That's my special assignment too. I'd actually like to know when those meetings are, and I can't find that on their website. If you wouldn't mind forwarding that to me, I'd like to keep a closer eye on that if I could, please.
I haven't seen one come through, but I certainly will, and want to keep you in the loop.
Okay, great. I just don't want to be caught next year like everyone trying to figure out where to put their garbage, so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take care of that.
With Logan's thing, I don't know whether Logan will hold one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they haven't held one.
Okay.
There's a truck you could use to haul everyone's garbage.
That would make a better profession for me. I've always wanted to, and I'll just, maybe that'll be my special assignment, is picking up people's trash. I like people.
You can take it to the next level.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it almost sounds like we're going to have to start over somewhere. This sounds like a big deal. I've thought about this, and it really is a challenging thing where Logan City all of a sudden just pulled the plug and said, you're going to be done in a year and have a good time. And that's a big challenge.
Yes.
Pretty much it.
And I don't know whether a new hauler will offer recycle or green waste. It might just be waste. It might all be together at first. And then we have to figure out to separate and to move to recycle again. We may start to the point that we're starting over with just waste. So that may happen. Jeff, any questions from you or Brent?
I don't have any questions. Just
Okay.
a lot of thoughts and studying I need to do as a new one.
I'll bring them up when I talk about council issues. I kind of want to, I'm going to talk about our emergency preparedness, and also as I've listened to this annexation business out there too, I had a couple of questions about that. Do you want me to ask them now or when I'm giving a council report?
I think if it's council report and you want to report on that, that's fine with me, but it's up to the mayor.
Are you done with your report?
I'm done with my report.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go to council reports. Brett, sounds like you're chomping at the bit to give yours, so you can be first.
Okay. Well, just a couple things. There's more than a couple. So to report on emergency preparedness, due to the gracious help from Ryan, there's been a subtitle added to the Providence City website, and maybe you've seen that. It says emergency preparedness, and in it explains, and then has key points where you can go look at the type of emergency and see what to do. It's kind of the items that were in that booklet plus some, and I think that's really great. It's been good to be able to show people that. We have the north end of Providence and the center part of Providence on board with emergency preparedness. The south end didn't show up to our meeting, but they are working with CERT, Citizens Emergency Response Team. Some of those people are attending that training, and there seems to be quite a bit of interest. And we're looking to get out get in the budget a little money so that we can print those emergency preparedness booklets, and also a fridge tag that can go on a refrigerator to continue to remind people to be prepared. And so we've made some good strides thanks to Ryan's help, and really appreciate him. And so we're moving forward with that.
Can I just interject here? Would you like to put something in the newsletter with a QR code so that they can go to that site directly?
Well, that could be a good possibility. I don't have a problem with that. I don't use stuff like that. That's more tech than I am. So if that's a good way to go, let's do it.
When we put out the magnet, I think putting the magnet, like what it looks like, it'll have a QR code on it. At least that's what we're thinking. And we might be able to just do it
But
with
he could
that.
also do a little thing, a little blurb in the newsletter. If you could give us just a little something to put in the newsletter to alert people that we're working on that you're working on that, I think that would be really helpful for people to know that's coming.
Okay.
And it be May, June, or July, because we won't have the funds to print until after July. So
Yeah,
it
let's
could be
give
any
it
of those
to
months.
June. Yeah,
We'll talk about that offline.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
So the next issue or item that I have is we had the opportunity to meet with, there was some 40 bills dealt with at the legislature regarding water. And one of them is appropriation of money to pressurize irrigation systems. And we met with Nathan Dowd, the two irrigation companies, and we met with him to discuss what it would, the money entails, what it would be available to do. And we had the two irrigation companies agreed with what is being proposed, that we would put out, what was it called, Brian, Ryan, a public interest statement?
Yeah, a letter for going towards the public interest statement. That's correct.
And what that is it says that we, as the two irrigation companies in Providence, are interested in having be put in the queue to be able to have our irrigation systems looked at and see if there is a possibility of doing something with the two irrigation companies to pressurize the irrigation system in Providence. Our understanding is if we are considered for it, they have the design money, they have the engineering money, and a percentage of the building and construction money and available to us. And so we were interested in looking into this to see if we could qualify what we could do. So we have had that meeting, and we were happy to, take advantage of free money where we can, if we can.
And Brent, that's the Providence Blacksmith Fork and Spring Creek, correct?
Right. Providence Blacksmith Fork and Spring Creek, yes.
And it would propose multiple options of conservation with water. Secondary or a pressurized may be one of those options, but there is multiple of those options. Isn't that correct? They said that they could do multiple options that might be available.
Might even just be piping some of the ditches and get rid of some of the loss. So yeah, we'll see where they come back with and if we're included. Another issue is with the Historic Preservation Committee. I didn't attend the meeting, but I did get a report to them regarding the painting from Astles. The Astles are willing to talk about finding a home for the painting that's hung in the city office for a number of years. And the Historic Committee would like to see if that painting could find a permanent place that would be satisfactory to the Astles and to the city where it could be displayed. And so that is something that is going forward. Ryan, the thing that I had a question about is I listened to the Planning Commission meet the other night, and I did receive another letter from the mayor of River Heights, and I drove over and looked at that road and that the issues there. I think it would be wise, at least my recommendation to my council and Ryan, is that we do get together with River Heights and see if we can't get some kind of a combined group working together to try and resolve concerns and see if we can't keep a friendly face with River Heights. It seems like they have some issues, but it doesn't seem like they'd be too terribly hard to resolve regarding the road and possibly that other piece of property that's down there. I thought that other piece of property looked like it was part of the school, but I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about in that leaving an island.
I do. I spoke to those homeowners today.
Okay, let's hear it. You know more about it than I do.
There's 3 parcels. They're like single home lots that are between the visionary property and the school, and they're in the county. So that's the island that he's referring to. But those homeowners specifically petitioned the county at the beginning of the first annexation to remain in the county. The county granted that, and they are perfectly content to stay there. They did say they would be interested in trying to collaborate to complete the sidewalk in front of their property to connect the visionary property to River Heights Elementary School. But they prefer to stay in the county. They have a septic system, they have their own well. And I think that that's, it's their right. And I think it's a moot discussion point that the mayor of River Heights has brought up personally.
As far as
That's my
that
opinion.
that
When I
island.
give you my report, I'll tell you, I'll talk to you a little bit about what we're doing with visionaries, so.
I'll defer the answering of that question, Brent, to the mayor. I think she's going to address those.
Okay,
So
all right.
I'll defer.
Okay, the only other thing I want to report on this, Mike, experienced some interesting things with fiber. We have come to the conclusion that we have great deliverance to the home. But right now, the router is not able to deliver it to our utilization equipment. The routers that they're giving us can't handle the speed. And consequently, our equipment stalls. And they can't get to the bottom of it yet. Now we're trying a few more things. We've been working at it. And we're going to solve this problem. But it's an interesting thing when you're sitting there watching television and it quits. It just stalls and starts looking for places. So it's an interesting situation we're dealing with. Anyway, that's all.
All the bugs so that the rest of us can get on with smooth sailing.
Let me tell you, I wasn't much in favor of fiber, but I'm really excited about it, and I will work out those bugs.
Thank
Just consider those pauses an opportunity to go fill up your popcorn bowl or something. Just do that every time.
Well, as sometimes you have to unplug equipment and plug it back in, and a few things like that. It's so you don't get a chance to fill your popcorn bowl.
You're gotta unplug stuff.
Well, hopefully we can get all those worked out before we get rolled out somewhere. If you have other problems, let me know. We'll work through it.
I'll do her.
Brent, on the other hand, I've not had any of those kind of problems.
You what?
I don't know what. I haven't had any problems with mine, other than the speed is not as lightning as it should be, but it's fast enough for me.
Well, our problem is we get multiple utilization, and he made the comment that it was a data overload, and I'm going, well, not at 250 megabytes, can't be a data overload. But anyway, we're working through it.
Good job. Thank you. Okay, Jeff? You have a report?
So I've been attending the planning and zoning meetings, which, like someone mentioned, has been a fire hose.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Brent's kind of talked about that a little bit already. And it sounds like you have something to comment on visionary. My only recommendation to the council is it was interesting watching the planning and zoning committee, the council, whatever you call them, just take all those comments from the public and knowing that that's headed our way. And I guess my recommendation to us as a council would be, I'd like visionary to kind of have an open house to the public. I'd like them to present their plans and just talk to the people and have the people talk to them and have them put up their displays, maybe over at the school like they did at the Meet the Candidates night. I don't know if that's an option, but
I'm gonna address that, Jeff.
you're going to address it, yes.
address it.
I'm just talking about I'm sharing my opinion.
Okay.
And my opinion is that if we'd like to continue on good terms with the people of Providence, we need to give them an opportunity to meet with visionary and have visionary and the people have an open house or a discussion and let it be open house style, not city council public comment style. And then after they've had that, bring it to the council. But other than that, we're working on the code. I'm still reading through the, is it 569 or 469 pages of code that we've got.
There's a lot. It's a lot, especially with all the comments that are added.
So
Appreciate your help.
I'll keep going through that, and that's all I have.
Okay, are you going to the Historic Commission? Is there another? Isn't that Josh? Oh, Josh is doing that. Okay. Okay, Josh?
Yeah, so the Historic Preservation Committee last month, Brent already commented on the looking for the place for the painting, but they've also, we submitted a photo that one of our teenagers in Providence took for us of Main Street. Jada Knight, actually, Carrie, you'd know that, took a photo we submitted to the state for, they essentially have a time capsule they were doing, and they didn't give us a lot of time to take a photo, and it snowed like the week that we needed to do it, but we got a photo submitted to them, and it prompted a discussion about collecting other historic photos of Providence that people have and displaying those at the city celebration. And so I think the Historic Commission is actually trying to start collecting some of those photos with some announcements. So they're kind of be like, oh, here's things that we've had in Providence. So it was kind of a fun idea of theirs. Kathleen's going to comment on the visionary thing. Let's see. Oh, my other comment regarding, I think we need to, I really would, I brought this up previously and spoke with the previous council members, but I would really like to get ahead of the South Bench issue with Millville City rather than the River Heights one. And I still want to affirm that I've spoken with I've spoken with all the council members, but I re-spoke with Jeff, and I really would like to see us designate, some sort of administrative committee to work on that had Millville residents and Providence residents. And I think in both cases, if we do this, rather than just do it and nobody know about it, because council members don't know about it, I really feel like it ought to be clearly noted on the council agenda that's happening. So the residents like, oh, what's going on? I don't want to, I'm happy to participate, but I don't want those things to take place as perceived behind closed doors or something. I want it to be, relatively public. So I brought that up previously, Mayor. That's just a request of mine. If we can do that on the south end, I believe other council members were supportive of that, and that kind of got diffused there late in the game.
We have a meeting with Millville and the developers. You were invited to that, but I believe you couldn't come.
I was, but that's not the way that I wanted to do it. I was clear that I wanted to meet with Millville and residents from both cities to go ahead and work it out and then talk with the developers. So
that will happen. They've committed to doing that.
Who's they? Millville?
Everybody in the room, except that there's still the issue of purchase and annexation. So there's some other steps that are taking place, but yes, there will be a meeting with the neighbors.
Okay, I just like to be kept abreast of that. I just know that at least myself, I believe some other council members, kind of wanted to work that out with the cities first, and then go to the developers and say, here's where some of the needs that we had and some of the terms and conditions that we'd like. And I personally like that approach better. And if we have to get it formally on the agenda to form one of those, I can. If two council members request something to be on the agenda, then it will, then by bylaw, it has to be on the agenda. So I guess I would like to see that formally happen, and the council vote on that. So I don't mean to make that sound really kind of, we want to do this, but that's what I was understanding. And it just, I'm not comfortable with how it's going just with the developer talks. So maybe because I feel I know how the public will perceive it. Just a quick note. Everyone seems to talk about fiber. I just want to let people know one of the complaints that we had from one of our citizens or residents was about Starlink, that satellite internet. My brother actually has fiber and Starlink, and I was down at his house talking to him about that satellite internet and his other one. like, why in the world do you have both? And he said, there's totally different things. He uses them for completely different things. And one's not a replacement for the other. He uses one with his RV, and it doesn't work necessarily when the weather's is bad. And there's, quite a bit of latency and ping, but he still likes it. So I just bring that up if people hear, my brother's an early technology adopter, and he was very much like, no, I need both of these. They serve different things. So just interesting kind of push pin there in case that discussion comes up again.
Thank you. I
That's it.
appreciate that feedback.
Okay, is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Janelle?
I've been working on code review with Jeff. I went to the same water meeting as Brent. Carrie and I got to attend a city celebration planning meeting, and it was incredible to see the enthusiasm and energy of the committee there to celebrate our community. And I thought it was really exciting. I really, it brightened my service as a city council member.
Can I interject one thing?
Yes.
With the city celebration meeting, and since two of you were talking about the historic preservation, there were members there at the city celebration meeting, and they're planning on kicking off the city celebration on Wednesday night with like a downtown historic tour. And so like cookies and drinks and touring of the historic towns. And so the preservation committee was represented and will be part of that city celebration.
That's awesome.
Very good. Excited. And yeah, I was just helping Blacksmith Fork get their schedules stuffed and mailed and handed out, mailed. Yeah, that's mostly what I've been doing between the last two meetings.
Lots of reading.
Oh, lots of reading. I even had a breakout reading glasses. That means I'm getting old. Oh,
Welcome.
thank you.
Okay, Carrie?
So I would love feedback on the youth council. We currently have like 18 kids on the council, but 10 or so active. We have a decent budget that allowed us to go to the Associations of Youth Councils conference this year. And I think for the 5 girls who went, it was a really awesome leadership experience. Applications are going to be opening up for next year, and maybe not right now, but maybe if any of you have an opinion about keeping the youth council going, if it's worth investing in. I'm kind of vacillating on it. Like, I feel like it's a really awesome experience for those youth who participate. On the other hand, there's not like a ton of interest. And so I'm like, is it really worth the effort and the financial resources for a small handful? And so if you have any thoughts on that. But the youth council is pretty instrumental in manning some of the city celebrations. So last weekend, the Easter egg hunt serviced over 300 kids. We stuffed 2,000 eggs, myself and Ashley Fisher and 3 or 4 kids from the youth council. We had 2 hunts and it was really successful. Without the youth council, I don't know if that would happen. So maybe the money we're putting into them is good, but we need some more recruiting. We need to recruit some this year. They're all girls. I call them my girls. And it would be nice to have a little diversity in that, as awesome as the girls are. And they were pretty instrumental in the Christmas celebration and manning that. Anyway, I would love some feedback and maybe some support on recruiting some good kids to help out with that. It's high schoolers. So we actually allow 8th graders, 8 through 12. Applications will be open in the summer, and then the city celebration will use kids from this year's youth council and last year's youth council so that it will overlap so we can get enough kids to help with the city celebration. But, and they also represent us in 3 or 4 or 5 parades a year. Without the youth council, I don't know if we would be represented. Anyway, so something to think about, and I would love your input, because I'm kind of keeping it alive, but if you don't see value, I'm kind of vacillating, so, you know, I could be persuaded. I've also been working on the concerts in the park, and I will send you the dates. I would love for you to make every effort to be at the concerts and the city celebration and the different city activities. When we ran for office, we ran to be ambassadors. And so it's just really important that the city council shows up to city events. And I know there are conflicts, but no one was at the Easter egg hunt except for me. And that's been the case for a lot of city events as far as the council representation. I'll send you the dates, but we're working on the concerts and hope that you'll be able to support them. And I also wanted to ask if we had some Providence City shirts made for the city council, if that's something that you would even wear, or would it be embarrassing to wear that to like city events?
I would like a button-up shirt.
Kathleen's picking her style.
I'd like a tank top. I'd like a tank top. Big
Actually,
bold.
I was thinking a tattoo for you, Josh. But
Got
just
2 sleeves would be cool. Yeah. No.
Like a golf shirt.
golf shirt for Brent.
I would wear whatever you give me. I'm not.
I like the golf shirts.
Would you send me your size and style? And if you think I'll be able to pick out for the girls,
No.
I'm not sure I will,
am not
but
picking them out.
I'll sure give it a try.
No, that's not what I was asking. Have you seen Ryan? He doesn't even wear colors in the summer.
Hey, this is a color. It's a blue shirt. Oh, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
That's it.
It's been a while since I was a girl, but the women in a
Women, you can call me a boy. It's fine.
I'm good with girls too, actually.
Okay, thank you for your reports. Just to let you know a little bit, this commission that Scarlett was talking about is, you were talking about it too, Janelle. She was not able to make it this morning and our Zoom link was not good. But this commission has been put together by David Zook. It's chaired by former Mayor Drew and Sean Milne, who is the Economic Development Director here in Cache County. There are over 4,000 job openings. If they brought people from outside to fill those jobs, where are the people going to live? They talked about the meat packing plant, JBS. They are now in the housing business. They bought a complex of condominiums or townhomes or whatever. I don't remember what he said. And they gave everyone an eviction notice, kicked them out, and they have that housing for people that come in to work at JBS because there was no housing to be found and they needed these people to come in. It really is a serious problem in Cache Valley. And it is not people moving here from other places. It's not people from California. It's people here who have lots of children. And we want them to work here. We want to have businesses open here. Businesses can't even find people to work. And the reason they can't, part of the reason is that they can't find a place to live. It's not affordable. And so we're going to be looking at the statistics of what's there, and we're going to come up with some recommendations for what we can do. So I'll be coming back to you. We're going to do it in 60 days. So there are people from DWS, there are people from agencies that serve people who are in need of housing but don't have a lot of money. But there are lots of people. It doesn't matter what end of the spectrum you're on. It's people need housing, and so I'll be giving you information about what we come up with. I'm on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. If any of you would like to come to meetings to see what's going on, to touch base with people in the community and kind of understand what's going on in the whole community of Cache Valley, that I think that that would be great. I'd love to have you come with. I can send out the schedule for what is going on with the chamber and the different things that they have coming up, but it would be nice to have representation from Providence so that we are there and we're participating.
Mayor, on their calendar, what do they call that meeting? The one that's generally for people? Do they just call it do you know what it's?
They have lots of different meetings.
Yeah, they've got women in business, ambassador meeting. It's none of those. I was looking on their calendar. Do you know what it's called? The one that's just generally open? If you don't, I can ask you for it. I just thought you might know. That's fine.
Well, no, I can't tell you anything specific because they do have all the different kinds of meetings that are open. They have a lunch once a month. They had one yesterday for mayors, so they invited all the mayors. I am working with a group of mayors. We've got all the other mayors except Logan, and we're working on the garbage RFP. We're trying to get a meeting while we're down here because we've got some deadlines that, especially since the date has been moved up, for us to not have our garbage collected by Logan City. And there are lots of issues to look at, lots of services that we need to contract with. We're looking at short-term plans, long-term plans, and we want to make sure that we don't get in a situation where we are creating another monopoly like we've had with Logan. We want to be able to have choices, but there's strength in numbers, so that's why all the cities are collaborating together for that garbage removal. So we may come back and ask for your feedback on any kind of garbage related services that you might think that we would need. This last week has been kind of a week of people that have issues and complaints. We got an anonymous letter about complaints, and so we're trying to work through those. I've touched base with people who have complained just to let them know. I've gone out and met with some of the people and been able to get resolution to some of the issues that they're having, but they appreciate being heard. They appreciate being met with, and they appreciate knowing that we are listening to them. We have a meeting with Visionary and with representatives from both Providence City and River Heights. Josh, have you got in mind the people that you're going to invite from Providence?
I have at least.
I don't need to know that at this point, but
yeah,
you're working on it.
Yeah, I have at least a couple. I think May 4th, right? Isn't that the date they picked?
Yeah.
Right. 5th, May 5th. Okay.
You should have gotten an email.
Yeah, I
to
just
let
got
you know that it's on the 5th, and it's going to be at the Visionary. What is it? Their model home. That's there. No, they're not their houses, but their model home.
Oh, on the property. Yeah.
Yes. And this will be a situation where we will have representatives. We can't accommodate 50 people. So it needs to be people who are actually going to be participating in the meeting and can represent people in the community. So that meeting is happening. I've been trying to get that meeting going for a long time. And so now we finally have it on the books, and we're going to be having a conversation with individuals, but it's one of those things where when you have these kind of meetings, everybody gets to leave something on the table. It can't be my way or the highway for any of the groups that are going to be at the table. So we'll see what we come up with. Unless you have any questions, that's it for me.
I would just comment, Janelle sent a very thoughtful and nice email with a lot of points and things I think that she'd kind of input she'd gathered from residents and her own personal opinions on the visionary stuff. And that was really, really helpful. It was actually really nice. She and I, you know, a lot of things that were on my list as well. If other people have some of those things they've talked about, and either if it's easier for you to just chat about them or to send an email with them, I'm happy to do that. But it's nice, just since all of us as a council can't be there because we would have a quorum, we'd have to have a public meeting. I feel kind of duty bound to represent your views and opinions. So call me on my cell phone, send me a quick email, whatever's easiest for you. So.
Okay.
Thanks for representing.
Yep.
Appreciate that. It's not an easy thing to do.
Hopefully we don't get yelled at.
It's a huge issue and it affects lots and lots of people.
Yeah.
So we've got to get it right.
Yeah, and I'd go so far to say I think it's really important too. I've been trying to kind of find some time between then and now to actually go knock some doors of the people who live there. Like we've heard from a lot of the surrounding people, like a lot of those people live there now, and I think it's very important they're Providence residents, you know, that they're heard. So if you've had a chance to connect with some of those residents, that's something that input that I want to gather too, that I just haven't heard as much of. A few of them come out of the woodwork for planning and zoning and stuff like that. But we don't hear from a lot of them. So.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Our next meeting will be May 18th. It would be back at the regular spot. So if there are no more comments, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Anyone
Okay, thank you all.
All right.